In this video, I'm going to show you how to access the different types of regular divergence signals inside of BloodHound. So I have a BloodHound template added to the chart, and I've added a threshold solver, indicator threshold, and now I'll simply add the Divergences Pro reader, and I'm going to read the signals from the chart that BloodHound is on. Divergences Pro reader. I'm going to read the charts from this workspace and the 60-minute chart, and I need to initialize it. Click OK to load it, and now I can access the different data series. So the first one would be the single regular divergence signals, and those would be the ones colored in cyan. That would be the initial divergence that's found. For instance, right here, I'm going to right click on the tool strip button up at the top and then show the setups and show the triggers. So these are the bars that are identified as setup bars, and then once price moves far enough in the opposite direction or in favor of the signal, then the little arrow is displayed for the trigger. So the triggers are set to 2 and -2, and the setups are set to 1 and -1. So in descending order from the top, sorry, it's 2, descending order, 2, 1, 0, -1, -2. And then I'll identify the setups, the setups only first. So here we are identifying the single regular divergence setups. It's going to show the next bar. If the high is the same as a previous setup bar, it will signal that bar as well. So there's really another signal for a single divergence setup here because the high is the same price. Here we have another one at the low here, here, one at the high there. Okay, now if I want to find the trigger as well, I'll set 2 and -2. So it's 2 for the bullish triggers, and I'll set this to 0 for the long. So now we're only getting the BloodHound signals for the actual trigger bars that have a arrow associated with them, and then for the bearish triggers. So let's say this is single regular div trigger. And then I can copy that, set this to setup, and change it from 2 to 1 and -1. Okay, so now you can see the signals are kind of halfway showing. That's because BloodHound is averaging these two solvers together. So once I've added more than one solver, I need to create a logic board over here, clicking on logic and then new. And now I will add the existing solvers. This is the setup, accessing the setup bars, and this is the trigger. Okay, so I'll name this signals, Divergences Pro signals, and I'll go back over here. I'll copy this for the double trigger, double setup, triple trigger, and triple setup. So I'll name this to double, triple, and triple. And just simply change the data series from single to double. Do that with both of these solvers to double. And now the triples from single to triple. There we go. And now I'll add those as well. There we go. These are the triples. These are the singles. And now these are the doubles. So let's connect the double. Those would be the yellow. So that's the divergence that's following the single divergence. So this would be, a continuing divergence signal after the first one has failed. So we make a new one, double divergence, and then if we make a triple, a third one, that's the third consecutive divergence signal. These tend to be pretty powerful signals. As you can see here, this was a fairly major low that turned up about 230 ticks. Okay, so now we're identifying the double divergence setups and then the double divergence triggers here for the arrows, and now the triple divergence triggers, as we have two right here and the triple divergence setup bars. Okay, so that's all of the individual regular divergence signals, but what if we wanted to combine all of them together in one solver? Well, we can do that via the any regular divergence trigger and any regular divergence setup. So let's add these two. And change the data series. Where do we have any right here? Any regular divergence setup, and then any regular divergence trigger. Now, since there's three, single, double, and triple, these will go out to +3 and -3 for, sorry, -3 and +3 for the triple, -2, +2 for the double, and then -1, +1 for the single. But let's say that we want to just identify any. It doesn't really matter as long as we get any divergence whatsoever. So I'll set this to simply 1 and -1, and that will show me all of the regular divergence triggers. Okay, if I want just double or triple, then I can set this to 2 and 3 and -2, -3, and now assign just 2 and 3, and then get the full signal for only the double trigger and the triple trigger, as you see here, the yellow and the magenta. But because 0 is the right here in C, 0 is the midpoint between 2 and -2, it's giving us a kind of a half signal for the value of 1. But that's not really an issue at all, because once you start combining this with your other conditions and solvers, that little half signal will be eliminated. So BloodHound is only going to give you output when the combined signal is actually greater than 1 for a long or greater than 1 for a short, technically less than -1, as it's displayed visually here. But really, it's internally, it's 1 for a short or 1 for a long. Visually, it does show above and below 0 for long and short to get that color difference. Okay, but let's just set it to 1 so as to allow for any regular divergence trigger, as the solver is meant to do, as this data series is meant to do. And then we'll do the same for the setup. And there we go. So now we're identifying all of the single, double, triple regular divergence setups here, and then the single, double, triple regular divergence triggers with this one. Okay, so those are all of the possible combinations for regular divergence. And I'll actually name this a little bit better. Regular. There we go. And that'll do it. If you have any questions, just leave them below.